Hi friends, host Eric here, who's talking with famous people. And I'm going to begin now the next 10 or so pages of Exciting Tables and Words About Human Personality. This book that's available, I'll link it in the description. And these are pages, starting with page 11. Words and reality. Most people understand themselves as an entity that is both object and force vector. In other words, they know they have a body and that they can act. Further, this status quo understanding sees everyone inhabiting a single physical reality with other such entities, combination objects, and force vectors. Whether we inhabit a single reality or each render reality independently is an interesting question. I, host Eric, hereby begin representing the real-time fluid interactions of agents and objects within the field of that single physical reality in sentences. This section here attempts to represent the real-time fluid process of the representing of the real-time fluid process of interactions of agents and etc. that comprises being. So that is just designed to point out the sort of futility of trying to exactly describe everything in terms of words. It's always going to sort of go into an infinite regression of that sort. Words versus reality. The distinctions I make represent attending, manifesting the self through one of a finite set of possible observational modalities that know, be, create the self fluidly through space and time. I might claim to know the following things. If I bang my knee into the corner of that table, it's going to hurt physically. If I am at Maureen's house tonight, I won't also be at Sue's house at the same time. But what do these things have to do with reality? No one walks around thinking, remember self, hard objects can cause pain if I bang my knee into them. No one sometimes forgets they can't be two places at once. So what meaning have these sentences? Words constrain people. Ultimately, conditional rules like 1 and 2 above, these ones, provide an almost always unstated foundation for managing relationships. You can't claim to not know that hitting me will hurt me because of number 1. And because of number 2, you can't claim that you didn't know when you agreed to go out with Steve the same night you had plans with me that you didn't realize you couldn't be in two places at once. Get rid of this. Okay. There exists no words without a subjective link. We can only understand things in an abstract sense by reducing the reality we experience to a static representation of the irreducibly complex fluid systems in which we operate. We reduce the other person we spend so much time with to Kimberly or wife or my son or whatever, and understand that symbol as a static object on the various fields we construct as metaphysical frames of reference. We might mechanically generate random mixes of words into grammatical sentences, but the meaning of such is still limited to the meanings understood within individual subjects, and to the extent conveyance of actual ideation occurs, it does so either within the subject reading the words or later when discussing the meanings with another. So in other words, the meaning you take from these words and the meaning I intend are necessarily different things. And what matters to you always will be the meaning you take from them, not the meaning I intend. So my intention is kind of irrelevant in that regard. You can't experience my words except by choosing to experience them, and then only through whatever frames of reference you naturally bring to the table or choose to apply in a given circumstance. That's not a very good page. I'm not going to lie. That's not one of my better pages. I'll critique each of these pages as I go through them. How you be. Ontology. The ongoing manifestation of self. A person's ontology includes self-concept, identity, agency, esteem, accomplishments, values, beliefs, gender, race, societal utility, defensiveness, pride, character, role, appeal, strength, vulnerability, desires, repulsions, all of that shit that you might attribute to yourself. Basically anything you can think of about being human that you might attribute to yourself. Nothing an agent willfully does is purposeless. To will is to have intention. So if I pick up this knife, I do so with a purpose of demonstrating the intentionality of it's implicit in doing things, and how it's not really possible to do things without an intention any more than it is to have an idea that doesn't have a frame of reference. Number 2, each human is a distinct and complete instance of agency encased in an object only. So I shouldn't put object only, because a living body has qualities of the object, but it additionally has qualities of its own agency, which is to say it's not really static in any sense, or not in the same sense that non-living things are. All people view most events as purposed, most of their own actions, most of the actions of others, and some of the other events and objects of the world are viewed as purposed by all people, basically. So, now, all people probably also view some events as unpurposed, but all people view most events as purposed. People draw a distinction between purposeful and accidental behaviors. So clearly there's a distinction to be made. A person is only a person when alive in both the physical and metaphysical worlds, hence the expression brain dead. Okay. Again, not a great page, but it's sort of repeating stuff I've gone over in other stuff many times, and this is maybe better. Let's find out. Time and space objects. Time objects, digital images, January, PDF, .doc of a novel, boyfriend, the relationship, YouTube video. Space objects. All the paper and ink of a book, flower, my nose, boyfriend, the body, rock, blank video cassette. Time object. That which can be named and distinguished from that which it is not, and which must be sustained through application of energy. Failure to do so will cause the time object to cease to exist. Yet it's no less real than a rock. What does that mean? Well, you cause this particular time object to cease to exist by turning it off. And then it no longer exists in your frame of reference anyway. And you might say it exists outside your frame of reference, but all you really mean is you can reliably predict that you can access this duration-bound experience. Like it's an experience that you know you can access and have again if you want, but it's got a certain duration to it that you have to spend the time to, you have to direct your experience towards this media. So time objects are loops that an agent makes, like this, that you can trigger. A loop is a rendering of an experience into a medium. Until digital media, time objects were imprinted upon space objects, paper mostly. All time objects have duration. For still images, it's just the duration of attention one pays to the image. One can get the gist in a glance, but to observe details, one must spend time looking. So you might say that an extremely complex picture, like a Where's Waldo picture, for example, that has a long duration as an image, in the same way that a long song has a long duration as a song, except it's just that the experience of the song, the complete song, is more well defined than the experience of the complete picture. A sculpture is a space object shaped into a time object. An unrecorded conversation is not a time object per se, but each of the participants maintains in his or her head time objects relating to the conversation. Only rendered time objects can be activated. We know sculpture exists independently of the marble because if I show you a picture, we will agree on what it is. The utility of a given human experience towards the evolution of the species metacognitively supervenes upon the activation of time objects generated from the experience by the other. Put simply, nothing gets better if no one pays attention. So, I don't know what the point of that is, but I like that. I like this page. I give this page a A- or a B+. Space objects, that which can be named and distinguished from that which is not, and which remains observationally unchanged until and unless force energy is applied to it. Most rocks have vastly less impact on people than most songs. So why would we consider a rock more real than a song? Space objects. Space objects are stuff you can bump into. Space objects are subject to the law of non-contradiction, the engine of all physics. That is to say, a thing can't be in the same place, time, and context. And it can't both be and not be in the same place, time, and context. Space objects attract one another. Gravity. All space objects have mass. A sculpture is a space object shaped into a time object. The space object part has been changed only because of the application of energy towards that end. The change has been willed for the purpose of cloning the self. In other words, I want some aspect of my experience to be rendered into a meaning nugget of some kind that you then will chew on, hopefully. Space objects require no activation. We know the marble exists independently of the statue because the statue can fall on you and kill you. It's notable that all of history before us comprised setting up the groundwork for information fluidity, namely to have as much capacity to act meaningfully in a persistent metaphysical ecosystem, the internet, as you do in a physical world, is amazing. History, pre-work, years 2000, 10,000 BC to 1998 AD. Learn how to manifest and sustain an ecosystem for time objects. Actual work, 1999 to 2000, whatever, to forever. I guess, well, I don't know why I put 2016. I didn't write this in... Maybe I wrote this table in 2016. Till forever. Outcomes are multiplicative. Okay, so I like that. I like this page better than the page before. I like the space objects page better than the time objects page. I give it an A minus-ish. An A almost. Alright, let's look at this page. I like this page. MBTI, I read this earlier today when I was kind of flipping through it to see what I wanted to go over. And I thought this is a nice introduction page to MBTI and personality typing. Where does all this stuff come from? MBTI is a practical application of the psychological model called Jungian cognitive functions. What is a cognitive function? A cognitive function is a way of paying attention. How many functions are there? Humans display 8 distinct ways of focusing their attention. How do we categorize functions? These 8 functions divide into 4 kinds: intuition, sensing, thinking, feeling. How do the functions relate to each other? The 8 functions interrelate along 4 axes. I don't know if I spelled axes right there. NESI, SENI, GEFI, FEGI. The kind of function plus the attitude of the function makes the 2-letter code. For example, feeling F and E extroverted, so FE extroverted feeling. If you want to know how the codes work. Function plus the attitude. Each function expresses as an extroverted form and as an introverted form. This is called the function's attitude. How many types? Oh, I should be reading the question part too. What about all letter codes? That was this one. What is the function's attitude? Each function expresses an extroverted. Yeah, you saw that. How many types? These pairs then make 16 configurations. What's a cognitive function stack? The order of habitual preference by which a person expresses one manner of attention over another. I don't really like the word preference, but we'll leave it as alone. We'll leave that alone. What's a type? A stack configuration is a personality type. What it means for you. Everybody has a single type which never changes. Knowing your type means knowing your own defaults, which allows you to expand beyond them. What am I at? 13 minutes? Let's do one more page. So this is a good introductory sort of primer to MBTI, and I do a couple little bit more primers here to MBTI. Now this is not saying I think MBTI is necessarily right, but these are concepts of MBTI that aren't necessarily inconsistent with what I think either. So I try to be sort of general and broad here. E or I, extroverts, energized by interaction, seek observation, more is more, outcomes are external, action, impact, statuses, ideation, SENETEFE first. Introverts exert energy to interact, seek to observe. In other words, extroverts seek to be observed. Less is more for introverts. Outcomes are internal, archiving versus actions, conclusions versus impacts, valuings versus statuses, aesthetics versus ideation, SINITIFI. These 4 should be in the same order as these, but they're not. It should go to be in the same order of these would be SITIFINI. I should just fix that. Make it, I don't know, parallel, I guess you'd say. Make it respective. Okay. Extroverted types. It just goes over the types, basically. ESTJ, it says what all the function stacks are. If you're new to functions, this probably is not a bad video to watch. So I'll just go ahead and read it and explain it a little bit. You'll note that with these 8 functions that we have, they pair with each other in certain ways and not others. And so there's a finite number of pairings that match up to these 16 types. TESI is ESTJ. FESI is ESFJ. SETI is ESTP. SEFI is ESFP. TENI is ENTJ. FENI is ENFJ. NETI is ENTP, that's me. NEFI is ENFP. SITE, ISTJ, SIFE, ISFJ. You don't need the other two there because these first two tell you everything you need to know. TISE, ISTP, FISE, ISFP, NITE, INTJ, NIFE, INFJ, TINE, INTP, FINE, INFP. And my girlfriend Kimberly is an ISFJ here. So you may see her in some of these videos too if you're new to this channel or whatever. Intuitive or sensor. And these are sort of general rules for intuitives and sensors. Are these... Can you like use this to type people for sure? Blah, blah, blah. No, these are general things we can generally attribute to the things. I mean, these introductory tables are just that, introductory tables to the ideas, and not really defensible arguments about anything, okay? Intuitives: meaning, making, knowing, deducing, speculation, normative, insight, elegance of ideation, ontologically valid but unsound. Sensors: experience, executing, remembering, observing, performance, prescription, I guess that should be, normation? Normation? I don't think that's a word. Prescription and normation? I like to make it a word, maybe. I like that idea. Let's make that a word. We'll play normation here. Normation. Prescription. Is it a word? It doesn't seem to correct it. Maybe it is a word. Who knows? Okay. Insight, application. So these are like the equivalent thing, right? For meaning, the equivalent is experience. For making, the equivalent is executing. For knowing, the equivalent is remembering. For deducing, the equivalent is observing. Is that really the equivalent? No. Yes. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, okay, fine. It's one of the equivalents. You could also put valuing here. Speculation versus performance, like potential versus actual, normation versus prescription, insight versus application, elegance of ideation versus reliability of knowledge, ontologically valid but unsound, ontologically sound but unvalid. What do I mean by this part? I mean, the intuitives are likely to be consistent with their meanings, but have their experience be their area of failure, so to speak. Or they're so concerned with the meanings that they forget about the experience, and vice versa for the sensors. They're so concerned about the experience they forget about the meaning. So, basically that's what those things mean. There's just fancy ways to say it. You gotta say shit fancy or else nobody wants to hear it. Everyone will just be like, well, that's dumb, that's obvious. You use ontologically in there, then all of a sudden you're talking serious. You're a serious philosopher and everybody better listen to you. I'll just do this one too. Thinker or feeler. People pay attention most naturally to people, power, caring, wanting, accepting, experience, if you're a feeler in general. Again, experience being for FI and not really so much for FE, but FE will still be like that in some ways, and so whatever. Thinkers: systems, rules, fairness, getting, testing, analysis, how, why. J or P. Judges or perceivers. Remembering, of course, that MBTI is it backwards, so these ones are actually judgers, and these ones are actually perceivers. Okay? But anyway, results, judgers, process, perceivers, predictability, judgers, flexibility, perceivers, conclusiveness, judgers, ambiguity, perceivers, static metrics for judgers, fluid metrics for perceivers, object or subject based for judgers, action or meaning based, which is a kind of object. This is like, it means like space object or subject based versus force vector or time object based. That's not a very good distinction there. I forgot to be judging these things. These pages are okay. They're all right. They're doing what they're supposed to do, I guess, which is being like kind of intro-y level. What the fuck's going on here? No me gusta. What's the problem here? What page am I on? I don't even know what's going on. The world's coming to an end. Stop being lame. Please. What page am I on? I don't even know. Exit page. Hurry up now. Don't be lame. Now I gotta go find my page again. How lame is that? Okay, well, let's find it real quick. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. Don't worry. Nobody panic. We'll get there quick enough. Don't worry. Stay with me. Oh, I should play that song. That'll keep you entertained while I'm doing this. Okay. We did that already. We did that. We did that. We did that. Where are we? Here? I just want to finish that thinking feeling page. Yeah, okay, there. Did I finish it? I think I finished it. Let me look down. What's the next page? Is there another one of these beginning ones? Because I kind of want to get through these. Oh yeah, the judges, perceivers. That's what I was on. Okay. Yeah, let's leave that for the next one. Okay, so that's it for this video. Just remember that extrovert perceivers extrovert their first perceiving function, so MBTI calls them perceivers. But extrovert judges extrovert their first judging function, and it should be like this. So that's where one of the ways in which socionics is right over MBTI, but neither of them is completely right, really. And that's going to do it for this video presentation. 22 minutes is a little longer than I want these things to be, so I'm going to have to do a better job next time of not wasting time or doing fewer pages or something. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. And I've been your host Eric. And I'll see you next time. We'll pick up where we left off. And the can't put it down. Thrilling, mind-bending, fiction, exciting, non-fiction autobiography of the decade.